Hey guys, and welcome to this video. So I am well aware that I look like a ghost right now and my face does not match my body color at all, but that is because I'm going to be testing a brand new foundation for you guys, and I happened to get very much the wrong color, but I didn't want that to stop me from testing the formula, so here we are. So the foundation I'm going to am currently testing is this one by The Ordinary. It's their serum foundation. It's a lightweight serum foundation with light coverage is what they claim. So before we get into the application, there's a few things I want to point out to you guys. Number one is the packaging. So it comes in a little box like this one, and when you open it, the bottle inside looks like this. Very classic packaging, nothing fancy, just very simple, which I actually really like. It says it comes with 1 fluid ounce of foundation, but one thing I did notice right off the bat is that it felt rather light, and so I opened it and looked inside, and it's filled up to about here. So I don't know if that's just the bottle I got or that's just how high they fill up all the foundations, and this would actually hold more than a fluid ounce. But I thought I would point out that this was noticeably not filled up. I know most products aren't filled up to the very brim, but this was noticeably a lot lower than I'm used to seeing. The other thing I wanted to point out for those of you that may purchase this foundation is that the directions are slightly different on the bottle than they are on the box. They say the same thing except for on the box it says to shake well. It doesn't mention that on the bottle. I thought I would point that out if any of you already have purchased this and have been just reading the directions back here. And another thing I thought would be worth mentioning is that I did order this over a month ago, so I've been waiting on this for a very long time, and I know that there was a long wait list. I think they said they were expecting 25,000 orders and it ended up being 250,000. So I think they are just very overwhelmed right now trying to keep up with the demand. But I do want to point that out to you guys if any of you are thinking of ordering this. It did take me a very long time to receive it in the mail. So now that we have the not so fun stuff out of the way, I want to talk just very briefly about this brand. I'm going to put a link down in the description box to their about page so you can read thoroughly about this brand and kind of understand what they stand for. But their main words that you'll see over and over again is that they are a humble brand. They preach integrity in their products, but not only with the ingredients, but also with reasonable prices. So this is an extremely reasonable price along with all of their products. So regardless of how this product turns out, I definitely plan to try other products from this brand because I really respect what they stand for. Because as you guys know, I'm all about beauty at reasonable prices. But let's go ahead and get into the application of this so that we can see whether or not I love the product as much as the brand. Okay, so as always, I'm gonna apply to one side of my face using a brush. This is the Morphe M439, and the other side using a sponge. This is the Real Technique sponge. And even though it doesn't say it on the actual bottle, it says on the packaging to shake well before use. So I'm gonna shake it well. And can you guys hear how empty that sounds? But this is the shade 1.2 yellow, and I think it's too light for me with a tan, but maybe in the winter this would be a great shade for me. So I just pumped some on the back of my hand. As you guys can see, it's very, very liquidy. And I'm just gonna take this sponge and apply to this side of my face. That was just the one pump on this side of my face, and this coverage is really impressive. I was expecting, it says light coverage, so I was expecting a very, very light coverage, but this is light to almost light to medium. So let's see what the coverage looks like with the brush on this side. I'm gonna shake it again. Okay, so setting aside the fact that I look like a ghost right now, this is far too light for me. The side with the sponge application is 10 times better than the side with the brush application. I do not like the side with the brush application. I'll give you guys a close-up so you can see, but the side with the brush application has some buildup around my nose. You can see the brush strokes. It looks very unnatural, whereas the side with the sponge looks like skin. It doesn't look too dewy, but it still looks very, very healthy. So I'm gonna take what's left on the sponge and just kind of work it into this side of my nose. This feels like one of those foundations where, as of right now, without setting it with a powder, if I rubbed up against someone, it would just come right off. Okay, so I'm gonna finish up the rest of my makeup and I will be right back. Okay, so I know I said I would be right back, but I ended up getting super distracted and doing 1,000 different things. It's actually been about 3.5 hours since I applied, so this is kind of also a mini check-in. And as you can see, I did apply a good bit of bronzer, but I still couldn't get this to match even remotely, but I didn't want to alter the foundation too much by layering too much product on top of it. I set it with my Rimmel Stay Matte, as I always do. I did bronze up a little bit, but again, I didn't want to put on layers and layers of bronzer and maybe alter the way that the foundation was going to perform. So I'm just gonna walk around looking like a ghost, and I'm okay with that. So as you guys can probably already see, after about 3.5 hours, I am pretty oily. I'll give you guys a close-up so you can see just how oily I've gotten. It's really bad through my T-zone and on my forehead, the usual places, but I don't typically get this oily this fast. That said, it hasn't started to completely break down anywhere or break apart. I just look pretty shiny, but I am gonna leave it untouched for the rest of the day, and I will be back in about 4 hours to give you guys my final thoughts. Hey guys, I'm back. So it's been about 4.5 more hours, so 8 hours total of wear with absolutely no touch-ups. And as you guys can see, I am so oily. I again will give you guys a close-up to show you just how oily I've gotten. But I have to say, even though I look extremely shiny, it has not broken down anywhere. It's just really my oils coming through the foundation, but it hasn't really disrupted the foundation from the way it looked right when I first applied it. So before I give you guys my final thoughts, I want to do a quick touch-up and just see if this would have been salvageable at the end of the day had I touched up at all. So I'm going to take these e.l.f. Shine Eraser blotting sheets and just blot the oils off of my face, if that's even possible. Okay, so like 5 blotting sheets later, I'll give you guys a close-up and show you it looks pretty good after blotting away all that oil. It really looks fresh. It looks like I recently applied it, and this is after, again, 8 hours of wear. The oil didn't seem to disrupt the foundation at all or break it up or make it look patchy or cakey. It pretty much looks the same as it did right when I first applied it now that I have blotted away the oil. So that is really, really impressive. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and get into my final thoughts. So I'm gonna start with all the good stuff and then tell you the things that I'm not so crazy about. So the pros of the foundation are that, number one, there are 21 shades available. And in addition to the number of shades, they're also labeled with cool tone, warm tone, or neutral undertone, which is so helpful. I wish all foundations did that. I also am super impressed by how lightweight this feels on the skin. All day today, it didn't feel like I was wearing anything. It really does feel extremely light, and yet it has very decent coverage. I would say it's a light to medium coverage. It's a lot fuller than I thought it was going to be, especially with just a small amount of the product. I really like the packaging, the fact that it has a pump and it's just sleek and simple packaging. I feel like it looks timeless. It looks a lot more expensive than it is, which brings me to my next point that I love about it, and that is the price point. It's just over $6, which is fantastic even by drugstore standards. And then this is also oil-free, vegan, cruelty-free, alcohol-free, so it's definitely made with top-notch ingredients. And then lastly, the staying power. I'm really impressed by how well it stayed on my skin given how oily my skin is, and I like that I can blot my face, which I would typically do with a foundation, and get it looking the way that it looked right when I first applied it, especially after 8 hours of wear. So on to the things that I'm not so crazy about. Obviously, this is not an oil control foundation. It doesn't claim to be. If you have very oily skin, you will need to manage your oil with this foundation. I certainly got very oily wearing it, but again, it is something you can manage with a blotting sheet. And then I mentioned a few things also at the beginning of this video, the main other con being the shipping. It took over a month to get my order, which is really a bummer, especially since the shade didn't work out for me, and now I feel like it's going to be a whole process trying to return it or trying to order another shade. So if I were you, I'd kind of wait till the hype dies down a little bit and then try and get my hands on it, because it's just really behind right now. It's very, very new and hyped up, but I think this will die down and it'll be a lot more accessible. But based off of this, I'm 100% going to go buy more products, and I definitely want to try out that full coverage foundation they have out there as well. Overall, you guys, I'm really impressed by this product, the price point and the brand overall. So I'd give it a thumbs up. I am definitely impressed. So that is going to be it for this video. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and click that subscribe button so you get notified when I make new videos, and I will see you guys in my next one.